a hand tonight. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Linda, ladies. I'm really glad you're here, and we're really excited about the program that we have for you tonight. This is Upward. How many know what Upward stands for? Come on, ladies. It's on the pamphlet right in front of you. Work with me. I know it's a Wednesday night, but come on. You didn't have that much to drink, did you? Okay, Uniting Professional Women, Accelerating Relationships and Development. And yeah, that's a mouthful, right?
What she said.
That is a crazy mouthful, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. And it makes for a decent acronym, right? I mean, people get Upward. I think I'm going to have an UP app, which is all about women coming together and helping each other go up to whatever level they want to go up to, right? The issue that we've had is not for lack of women in the workplace. If you look at the data, and this is one of the things that inspired me to do Upward to begin with, the data says that women come into the workforce at a professional level, kind of the entry level, at an almost equal rate as men. So the S&P 500, for example, 45% of entry-level professionals are women. Fortune 500 companies comparable, some close to 50 in the Fortune 500. So we're entering the workforce, we're getting degrees at all levels more than men, and yet when you get to the top ranks at every company, pretty much every company, there are some exceptions, but when you get to the top ranks, the executive positions, in the Fortune 500, that number drops from almost half to 13% are women, just 13%. And when you get to the CEO's office, that number is 4%. So there is a definite leaky pipeline, right? We're entering the workforce, but we're not making it to the top. And so I started Upward with the goal of us coming together, still taking help from men. Often, many of us have had male mentors, and men have helped us get to the next level in our career. But I think taking advantage of the fact that there are more women in senior positions, that if we help each other proactively, then we can help overcome the barriers that we all face as women getting to the top. And some of the data is really interesting. One of the studies that was really inspiring to me was one that McKinsey did, and it talked about women in management positions. Once we get management positions, we tend to want more responsibility. It isn't the opposite. I think there's this perception that when women get to a certain level, it becomes too much for them, right? The work life, the balance, the trade-offs, and that women maybe want less responsibility, not more once they get up. That study said just the opposite. The more responsibility we get, the more responsibility we want. Because we see that, we can do this, right? This isn't rocket science. We can actually do this. And so that was another really encouraging factor and one of the motivators for me to start Upward. And so that's why we're here tonight. Amen. And, it's been an amazing journey because, the conception of Upward was I work in venture capital and I worked in tech for a lot of years, for over 20 years. And, I go to meetings with startups and I'm almost always the only woman in the room. And there are never women of color in the room. So that was the inspiration for me. I've been in this business for quite a long time. Is there something that I can do personally to help change the dynamic, the demographic of the world that I work in? And so I thought, I'll get a few of my female executive colleagues, right? Upward is about director level women and above. It's for executive women because that's where the problem is most acute. And I thought 40 or 50 will come in my, in my backyard, kind of like this, and talk about it, how we get it fixed. And that 40 turned into 90. And I said, wow, this is an interesting idea. I got lots of feedback. Folks were still meeting amongst small groups, people they sat at table with at that dinner, and it was just amazing. And so I said, okay, let's do another one. We did another one the same year. This is in 2013. And that was 130 people, right, executive women. And then the second year, 2014, we had 6 events and chapters across the globe. And last year we had 14 events. This year we've got over 25 events. And we're expanding all over the world. We've got chapters in London and Tel Aviv, and we're launching in Buenos Aires. We just launched New York City a couple of months ago, and Chicago and Washington, D.C., and Seattle and Austin, and on and on. So, and it's all been word of mouth. We don't have a marketing person on the team. In fact, the first year and a half, almost 2 years, we had me and a bunch of wonderful volunteers. And by the way, I want to shout out to the volunteers. Those that have a colored badge, why don't you guys stand up? Colored badge. These are volunteers. Linda, you have a colored badge. Stand up, good girl. These are our lovely volunteers. And we have 2 of our employees here. We have employees now. Pamela O'Leary over here, all right, and Molly Masterson. They're a part of our team. They're fabulous. But that's the way we started this, with volunteers. People just said, you know what, I love that idea. I want to get involved and I want to help. See, we women do that, right? That's why we're great leaders, because we take initiative and we want to get involved and we're not afraid to get our hands dirty. And so that's how we began it. And as I say, now over 25 events in multiple countries and chapters all over the world. And the goal is to get a chapter everywhere there is a senior professional woman that wants to connect with other senior professional women. And so I see hundreds of thousands of women. And think about the power of that community, where you've got hundreds of thousands of executive women who have authority. We may not be in all the CEO positions, but we have authority and influence and position and power where we are. And if we're proactively helping each other to advance, think about that. I mean, that's enormous impact. And if you look at the communities that do that well, they make progress doing it. And I think, you know, for women in the past, we've always viewed ourselves as competing only because there seems to be 1 or 2 spots at the top for a woman. And so now, instead of collaborating, we're competing for those 1 or 2 spots, and we don't come together. But I think that old paradigm is dead. I think we are all in it to win it. We're all in it to win it together, and we can actually make a difference together. The number of people and the testimonies that I've heard about how they got leads from other female colleagues to get another job, or to get a customer opportunity, or to get a partner opportunity, or to get an idea. Those are the testimonials that we're hearing from our members. And I think there's much more to come. So that's a little history. One of the things we wanted to do tonight is we passed the 3,000 mark, so 3 years and 3,000 members. And so we're gonna have the champagne glasses brought out. So if you can we're gonna have a little toast, ladies. We know how to work, but we know how to party too. Don't drink too much, because you gotta drive home. But can you make sure we get the glasses? They're gonna come out, all right. So we're gonna do a toast in just a few minutes. The glasses will come out. They'll be pouring the champagne, and yeah, we're gonna have a good time tonight, right before the panel. So hopefully you guys don't have too much. But there's a few things we want to talk to you about. I mean, I talked about a few of our events and programs. We've got a number of other things. And I want Pamela to come forward, because I'm going to have her talk about something we're just launching this year called Friends of Upward. And you guys probably got a little card. She's going to tell you a little bit more about that. And our big gala dinner, which is our signature event that we have every year at the Fairmont Hotel in San Jose. We've had Carol Bard speak at that. We've had Sally Krawcheck speak at that. Sheryl Sandberg was confirmed to speak at it, but she had her husband passed, so she was actually going to speak last year. So Sally stepped in for Sally was CEO of Merrill Lynch and a bunch of other investment banks. So we've got another big event coming up in December 1st there. So she's going to talk to you a little bit about that and hopefully get you excited and more involved.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Upward is only growing as fast as it is because of each of you and you telling your friends and colleagues. But I imagine many of you came here tonight because you were looking for connections. You were looking to join a community of your peers, of other top women leaders who are kicking butt and doing amazing things. And there's so many other women that want to be a part of this community. But for us to be able to scale and reach all of them, we really need your support. So when you came in, you got 2 pieces of paper, and these are 2 invitations for different opportunities for how you can continue to invest in Upward and help our organization grow. Please be our friend. This is Friends of Upward. This is an individual giving group of people who give $40 a month or $500 or more annually. You can see there's many different benefits to the opportunity, but ultimately it's a way to invest in yourself and your professional development, but also for you to support our growing community. And we would really appreciate, we'll collect the cards tonight, and if you have any questions, let me know. And please save the date of December 1st, 2016 at the Fairmont in San Jose, again, for our annual dinner. That's what this flyer is all about. And this is a way that your company or organization can get involved in Upward. We are supporting table sponsorships. And table sponsorships made by June 30th, so in a few weeks, can be made at the very lowest rate of $3,200. And from June to August, it goes up to $3,600, and then it's $4,000 after August. So this is a really great time to get in right now. This is a huge opportunity for you to bring 10 of your colleagues or potential clients to introduce them to this amazing community. It's a great marketing opportunity, great recruitment opportunity, great branding, but we would really love for your company to get involved. So again, especially by June 30th, tables are only $3,200. And I can answer any questions about that. But thank you so much. We need your help to continue to grow. We want to be able to provide more resources and programs and expand to other cities. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Give Pamela a hand.
Yay, Pamela.
No, it's really exciting. We've got so much that we want to do, and we're sponsor funded. We were founder funded for the first couple of years. I was paying for the activities, but now we've got over 40 sponsors and individual donors, and it's just been an amazing group of support. So, okay, do you have your champagne? Yes. Does anybody not have champagne? Okay, well, we're not going to toast until everybody has a glass. All right. So just to give you a little context about how the rest of the evening is going to go. So we're going to do, first I'm going to introduce Therese, and Therese is going to introduce this amazing panel. And we're going to talk a little bit about this idea of franchising for folks that have companies that want to implement a franchise model, folks that don't have companies that want to start a franchise. Franchising is a big, enormous industry. A lot of it is in the East Coast, and these ladies were kind enough to fly here from the East Coast just to be with you tonight and to talk about what they do. But we're hoping to get some franchising businesses started here by women here in the Bay Area or in California where they're limited. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we're also going to introduce our sponsor and thank them and have a little Q&A by Therese. And then we're going to have a little open Q&A for the audience. And then we're going to adjourn. So that's the evening. Okay, everybody has their glass now? Who doesn't have a glass? All right. Excellent. We are almost there. Well, while you're still getting glasses, I want to, first of all, thank Gardere and Franchise Update Media. Those are the sponsors for the event tonight. Can you guys give them a hand? Joyce and Therese. Big time thanks. And Joyce Mazero of Gardere. I'd like her to speak just a couple of words about Gardere and what you all do. And again, thank you so much for making all of this possible tonight.
Yes. Okay. So what I don't do is juggle. So I'm a partner at Gardere, and I'm based in Dallas, which is one of the major offices. I've been practicing law for about 36 years, and I'm very aware that I'm probably one of the oldest people here, which helps me reflect a lot on your comments. And I've spent most of my practice, certainly in the franchise and distribution area, and heavily in the supply chain and purchasing and all that goes into getting products from here to there. But with Therese, over the decades, we have spent a good amount of time working on the elevation of women as leaders within corporations and in their independent businesses, including through franchising. And training and providing them with resources and skills that we've learned over the years so that they can pass it forward to the people that they work for and have work for them. So I've just been very excited to join again with you. Whenever I'm with Therese, it's always good. And so thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Excellent. And thank you again for sponsoring and for being here. Okay, are you ready to toast? Everybody, glasses up. Okay, this is for all the women in the world that aspire to be an executive, that aspire to achieve beyond their imaginations and beyond their circumstance, and that have the ability because we are in it together and we are supporting one another. This is to Upward, 3,000 members, 3 years, and to all of you who made it possible. Cheers and God bless. Thank you for sharing in that. Okay, now we're going to have Therese, our moderator, and the head honcho for putting all this together with the panel. Go through some questions. We're going to stop promptly at 8, and then we'll open it up for Q&A for you guys. So think of questions as we go through. And then, when you run out of questions, we'll just we'll socialize, have a little more to eat, a little more to drink before you head home.
It's an honor to be here, Lisa. It's an honor to have 3 esteemed colleagues of mine here tonight. When I called them, all 3 of them within 24 hours committed to be here because of their unique experiences in business as women. And they all have different experiences. They come from different places, but they want to help women move upward, especially women, as Shelly said, that are motivated, that want to learn to grow through the obstacles that other women have overcome along the way, and the great stories, the end stories, the never-ending stories that we talk about all the time. So before we jump into our Q&A, I'm going to do a quick rendition of bios. Did you all see their bios? They're amazing. They're amazing. These are stellar women, and I've been privileged to know them for many, many years. Joyce, it's been a long time. Yes. I know.
I think I made that point, Therese. Thank you.
Long time. So over 30 years for me in the business, over 30 years for Joyce and Catherine, you too. Yep. But Joyce I met when my husband and I started Franchise Update Media Group 29 years ago. Next year we celebrate our 30th, I was going to say wedding anniversary. We've actually been married 32 years. Is that amazing? And our 30th year in business. And we started with a little newsletter that nobody should have read. Well, they probably didn't. And it evolved. And along the way, I got very disillusioned by some things that were happening in the franchise world with some of our counterparts that weren't looking like any of the women in this room today. And Joyce is the one, when I was ready to throw in the towel, that kept me going personally and professionally. And I thank you for that. And I've told you that before. That was a long time ago. The world's changed a lot. It's a much better place for women today, I do believe. So with that said, Joyce was humble in talking about what it is she does. She's a rock star. She works globally in franchising, licensing, manufacturing, technology, supply chain. She's one of the most brilliant female attorneys I've ever met. And it's just been great to know her and work with her over the years. On my right here is Shelly Sun. Shelly Sun is the co-founder, also with her husband, and now the CEO as well, of BrightStar Care. And Shelly is going to tell her story to you in a little bit, but Shelly launched her business, I think, 12, 13 years ago, but then started franchising 11 years ago. And we met at one of my company's conferences. And Shelly is another rock star. She has taken it's home care, medical care, personnel staffing in so many different facets, and now has expanded that beyond just a staffing service in the healthcare field. And I know I'm not getting that all right because you've grown and changed so much. They're introducing new franchise opportunities, and in the technology industry, her vision is off the charts. Shelly is also the recipient, as is Joyce, of many awards over the years. Forbes. She's won an award that I don't remember the name of, but I remember it was a really big deal 2 years ago, and she's won it the last few years. And it's an award. She was the champion. Tell me.
Enterprise Champion of Quality designation from the Joint Commission. Out of 28,000 agencies that provide home care in the United States, we are the only company to have achieved that and achieved that in the last 4 years.
Is that amazing? So Shelly now has, again, multiple awards. She was the recipient of the Entrepreneur of the Year Award for the International Franchise Association, I think in 2009. She has been on the board of directors of the International Franchise Association for a number of years and is their chairwoman in 2017 and 2018, and this is a really big deal. Shelly has also been on Undercover Boss. She was one of the earlier ones, on the show, and it was a great program. And she has, again, won other awards, too many to list. But I am also proud to say that Shelly is the first female chair of a franchise leadership and development conference Franchise Update Media puts on in the fall. And thank you. We're honored to have you. Then we have Catherine Monson, another superstar. Catherine is CEO and president, correct, of FASTSIGNS, and they are a retail chain. I see a lot of you nodding. They are a retail chain that is predominantly B2B oriented, that is in the sign and visual graphics industry, and that is so big. She was brought on in 2008, 2009 as their CEO. She comes from 30 years in the franchise. She comes from a little more than that, almost as much as me, but we won't go down that road right now. But she has been leading franchise chains for a number of years and has held almost every position in management, having to do with marketing operations, you name it, she's been there. So she is also on a number of board of trustees and board of directors. And I just learned a new one tonight, Brain.
Yeah, so I'm on the board of the Learning Experience, which is a child care franchise, 6 weeks to 6 years old, with a lot of academic education involved. They teach little kids to sign language before they can speak. Very cool stuff. And then the one I just got on is Brain Balance, which is a franchise that helps children with ADHD and other behavioral problems overcome them without drugs, with sensory and behavioral training, academic counseling, and nutrition. And the success rate is amazing. So to think about helping young kids without drugs, it's an exciting thing.
And she's going to be a game changer in both those organizations. Additionally, Catherine has been the recipient of a number of awards. She received the prestigious Bonnie Levine Award.
So did I.
Somebody else has.
Yep.
And this young lady
Before you.
did too, right?
Thank you.
So it's these women sitting amongst you are right now some of the brightest stars in franchising, and they have a big presence in everything that has to do with franchising and beyond. So I think it's now time to jump in.
Let's jump
Okay.
in.
Yes.
So we're going to start with Joyce. What I'd like you to do in 30 seconds or less, in a couple of minutes, is just give an overview of really what franchising means.
If you can imagine making a comparison, I think this is the easiest way to do it. You imagine someone who wants to start a business, and they have to consider a brand, they have to consider systems, how to operate, how to track, how to figure out what they're doing, who they're doing it with, whether they're getting paid, whether it makes any sense business-wise, how they can improve. But the main thing here is they're doing it all themselves. They have to figure out how to get money, how to apply that money, whether they have enough money, and whether they can expand. You get the picture. You're basically on your own. And maybe you have such a great business over time that you attract investors. You get capital through all sorts of really socially incredibly creative ways that are available now. But you're really the one who is focusing on it and spending all your time doing the creative piece of it. You are shaping your own business model. Then you compare it to a scenario where that same business person sees a business model that already has done all of that. And they see that the name of the business, the mark, the trademark it's being operated under, the products it offers, the services it offers, it's already got a reputation. It's got a way of reaching people that when you see the name, it already means something to them. Shelly's business and Catherine's business resonate with the consumer that desires those services. When they see the names, it says to them value, credibility. I can trust that service. So the person who is starting as an independent wants that very badly, right? The person who has already done that and has that amazing brand has had to create systems in order to provide the customer the best services, to maintain quality, comply with the laws, hire the right people, find the right people, even know what the competencies are that those people have to have. They have systems for understanding how their services are delivered and what the customer wants. They have all that. And then they even have more. And this is what, to me, is the most distinguishing part of franchising that I really want to be able to message in my close to ending 30 seconds. An independent operator has a very hard time with creating economies of scale. You have no leverage. How do you create leverage? So you create leverage with power. And where is power? It's in volume, it's in numbers, it's in value. So if you have a system that has a going business model that is able to purchase from sources that are competing to provide products and services at better prices, if you have a business model that is able to market and advertise and reach markets through media that others can't, if you have a business model that on demand can message and get in front of trends and get in front of what you need to get in front of the consumer, better than the independent can, then that is the power of franchising, because that is the collective joining together to operate as a we, W-E, under a brand using all of the value that that business model has pulled together. Now, that sounds incredible, doesn't it? That is the engine. And that's why there's over, 3,000 or more franchisors and, umpteen, many more industries represented by that, and many more coming into being, because it gives the independent operator the chance to immediately jump light years ahead of where they would be if they were doing it independently. So where is the rub? Do I have 2 more seconds? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So what I just told you, what I just told you is all true. And it is what I would tell anyone who is sitting there thinking, why would I be interested in franchising? And I would have said that 3 decades ago, 2 decades ago, 1 decade ago, and of course, today. It's all true. The rub, the hitch, is what franchisor is truly doing it? Who is which franchisor gives you the truth of that business model? Day in and day out, you can confirm it. It's consistent. If you were a franchisee, you would receive it. The good sounding stuff is real. That, to me, is the challenge of all candidates. That is the challenge of all prospective franchisees. There are many excellent franchisors, and there are many franchisors who want to be excellent franchisors. Some of them do it better than others. You happen to have 2 really superior, excellent. Can I come up with any more superlatives? Here, it's just incredible. But part of a prospective franchisee's challenge is to do the diligence around the investigation of the best franchisor for them, because you want to be part of the we, and you want the we to be real and valuable, and what you want your business life to be involved in. So you have to be able to accept that you're not the I anymore. In franchising, you have to be a we. Franchising is really not for an entrepreneur. Franchising is for a person who is a great business person who wants to believe in a business model and has the independent thinking and fearlessness that they can believe and execute on a proven business model. So part of being able to get the diligence done around franchising, it's what I call walking around investigation and interviewing and talking. And this evening, you've had a little bit of that chance to do that with these two amazing executives. But if you are ever a candidate for a franchise, you'll get a document called a franchise disclosure document. And there'll be an item in that document. It's called Item 20. And there'll be a list of the developers and franchisees in that Item 20, including there'll be some information about franchisees who've left the system. It may seem challenging, but you call them. You talk to them. And if you can, you go see them. And then you prod a little bit further and you ask about their vendors and their relationships and how does it work? Because many franchisors have national vendors. Many franchisors have standards that some vendors can meet and some can't. But the point of and I'm going to end right now.
Really?
You must, yes. I have the privilege of age. Is you question, you interview, and you don't accept. Because not everybody is as true as they look, and there's many, many good ones, and franchising is too good an opportunity not to spend the time making sure you get the best.
Thank you, Joyce. There are approximately 800,000 franchise units in the U.S. right now, operating units. And the growth rate of franchise units exceeds the growth rate of the GNP, correct? And, you know, and of course, you know, when we talk about success, there's obstacles, challenges, and flat out failure. One of the things that you're going to hear from Catherine and Shelly coming up as franchisors, one who has been on the corporate side for years, one who, you know, started up from the ground up, is what a franchisor needs to consider before they bring somebody into their system. They may be qualified financially, but the vetting is going on the flip side too. So I'd like to turn the mic over to Catherine because I think, let me back up a second. Let me ask a couple of questions. How many in the room here have started a business at any point in time? Wow. Are any of you franchisees? Okay. Are any of you considering investing in a franchise as a franchisee? Okay. Are any of you considering taking a brand that you're developing or that you have developed and franchising it, becoming a franchisor? Wow, we have a real mix. What an entrepreneurial group. So with that said, you know, Catherine has been, you know, has just grown through franchising for a number of years, and, you know, as a woman, you know, has just, you know, keeps I would say knocking through walls to get to the positions that she knows she's right for, and I would like her to
Very controlling.
So with
you're not.
Can you tell we've all known each other for a long time? But Catherine, since she came on board FASTSIGNS as their CEO and president, has taken the company to new levels. They have over 600 units, I think over 400 million.
Over 500 million in revenues.
Okay, 500 million in revenue, and they're still growing, and doing amazing things. So I'd like her to share a bit about her story as a woman in corporate America, to the extent that it's entrepreneurial, and what that has looked like for her, and her attitudes and beliefs on that. Then I'd like her to share her stories, understanding the profile of the audience, some of her insights on becoming a franchisee or a franchisor.
All right. Thank you very much. I have to say I'm honored to be here. It is just exciting to be amongst women of power who want to be more powerful and help other women. So that's just exciting. I knew by the time I was 13 or 14 that I wanted to run a company. I can't tell you where that came from, but absolutely I knew it. So in my high school yearbook, it said I wanted to be president of Exxon. Now, this was before the No, it's true, but it was before the Valdez. But it was the biggest company I knew, and I figured, why not I just run the biggest? Because I wasn't going to run a little one. And so through my entire career, I went to college. I got a degree in business administration. Why? Because I wanted to be in management. I got my first job. Took me 2 weeks to get it after graduation. Dad was disappointed. I said, Dad, it's only been 2 weeks. He said, you should have had it before you graduated. So there might have been a little pressure. But the first job was just a job. In 6 months, I got another job, and I loved it. I was a buyer at Beckman Instruments, and I got to buy all kinds of really cool stuff, and I got to meet Andy Grove and buy EPROMs, and that's old technology now, but that was really cool back in 1978. And then 3 years into it, I woke up and I said, purchasing managers never become CEOs. I got to get rid of this job I love and find a job that'll get me into the C-suite. So I started looking for a job in sales and marketing, because what are the 3 tracks you typically get to the C-suite? Engineering, not an engineer. Finance, I can do it, but it's not what I love. Sales and marketing, I got that covered. And I got a job with a little company in a sales position called Sir Speedy Printing Centers. So I started with Sir Speedy Printing Centers in 1980 when there were only 183 locations. And I grew up in that company, held roles in every single department, and grew it to over 850 locations. And in that, I fell in love with franchising. Why do I love franchising? Because it harnesses that entrepreneur dream of owning your own business, that American dream of controlling your destiny. Your corporate boss can't lay you off. It can't be we're going to downsize 15% this week because we need to make a better earnings statement. It's I own this thing. And you do it with the power of a proven brand. Some of my best friends are people who were franchisees of mine at Sir Speedy, and then as we grew and acquired a company in Europe, I ran Multicopy Europe, and then we grew again and we acquired our biggest competitor, Pitt Printing. My closest friendships today are people who, now they're retired, but through franchising and owning a Sir Speedy or a Pip or a Multicopy, were able to put their kids through college, buy vacation homes, save for their retirement, give endowments to colleges. Really cool stuff. This is called wealth creation. And so I fell in love with franchising. I have been, and I'm on the board of directors of the International Franchise Association with Shelly, and the only reason we give our volunteer time is because we're passionate about franchising.
I was on that before you too.
Yeah, okay. Now, all 3 of us love each other. All 3 of us support each other. And all 3 of us are as competitive as hell with each other, right? Right. So when I started in 1980, there were very few females working for franchisors other than administrative assistants. In fact, when I got my job at Sir Speedy, they made me an offer, and I said, no. And they called me back and made me a higher offer, and I said, no. And they called me back and made me another offer, and I said yes. And then I found out like 5 years later that the payroll manager, who was also a woman, got a raise because I was hired, because she was being paid such a low amount. She'd been with the company like 12 years, and she got a raise because they didn't want to embarrass themselves with this young kid getting paid less than this woman who was running the payroll department or accounting department, and had been doing it for a long time and was in her 50s. So she really appreciated me very much. But so that was like upward, right? That's upward. Anyway, but I can remember early in my career, being female and young, that franchisees, people who had put their life savings into buying this business, wouldn't trust me because I was young and I was a woman. And so I had to work extra hard to build my credibility. but I'm able to do that. I'm smarter than the average bear, and I work harder than any bear. So, I mean, that I'm able to do that. But I remember thinking that. I can remember going to my first International Franchise Association conventions, and like there were like 4 women, and there were like 600 guys, and it just felt strange. And now there's a pretty decent representation, and we probably have, 6 women on the board, 7 women on the board of directors. So we're really excited about that. So the kinds of challenges that I ran into early in my career, I don't believe those challenges exist today for women. I think that we've done a good job, us older ones, not the young little thing here, but us older ones. Shelly's so young, I wish I could be that young again. But I don't believe that there's the significant discrimination in getting into management and getting promoted like there was 20 and 30 years ago. I think it's a lot better. I do think there's still some sexism that exists. I think it's harder as a female sometimes to get investors to look at you. I know Shelly will tell an interesting story about that. I'm not going to steal your thunder, but there is still some of that. But what I love about franchising is if you buy a franchise, it doesn't matter if you're black or white, male or female. All that matters is that you execute the model well. Nothing can get in your way. Nothing can stop you. And you make great money in your first location, and you love it, and you're passionate, and you buy a second, and you do the same thing there, and you buy a third. Some of the wealthiest people I know are franchisees who started with one cookie franchise and built it up to 100. Or one Church's Fried Chicken started as a cook, cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the toilets, and now owns 300 locations. So these are great success stories, and several of them I just shared are people come up, now they're men, that's just because of an age thing, who came from other countries, Pakistan, with nothing but $5 in his pocket, gets a job in a kitchen at a Church's, and then it's one day owns one, and then another and another, and now has a 12,000 square foot house and 17 cars and a jet. So, and that's all from frying chicken, right? So I love franchising because it puts the power of entrepreneurial spirit, and you can own any business you want. Find something you're excited about. Are you excited about helping small children overcome ADHD? Heck, get a brain balance. If what you really, really like is food, find a food franchise. I mean, there's something in every single area. The business that Shelly started, it's all about helping grandmas and grandpas stay home and live in their own houses. There's such value to that. So there's some franchise that will make you passionate. You'll love it, and it'll be fun. So is that what you were looking for?
That's awesome. Now, what I would thank you, Catherine. Can you tell she's passionate? I would ask you to speak to one final topic, and that is the vetting process that a franchisor has to go through.
So for me as a franchisor, the worst thing that can happen for me is to have a failure. All right? I get to publish that in my franchise disclosure document. It is a black eye. It hurts my heart that someone invested their money and is not successful. So what I need to do if you're thinking about buying one of my franchises is I got to make sure that you have what it takes. The easiest thing to do to look at from a qualification standpoint is the financial resources. That's not the most important thing. Do you believe in the model? Can you be passionate about it? Are you going to follow the system? We have a particular system or way of selling a franchise to you. And if we find that you're going to be non-compliant in that process, that tells us something about your makeup. Now, there's nothing wrong with being non-compliant. I was a rebel, probably still am. I maybe wouldn't be a good, stop that. I maybe
She wouldn't qualify for her own franchise.
Right, right. I might not qualify for my own franchise. That's exactly right. But I'm looking for people who can be passionate about the brand, will be out proactively developing business, not being a shopkeeper sitting inside, but will follow the system, will give me great ideas on how to improve the system, because what franchising is all about is taking the best ideas of the franchisor and the franchisee, making them better, and putting them back out. I mean, the Egg McMuffin was a franchisee's idea. The $5 footlong was a franchisee's idea. And that's, Joyce talked about leverage. When you get the brain power of 600 owners in the FASTSIGNS network coming up with ideas on how to innovate, and then we take those ideas and we make them better and push them back out, that's called leverage. So every franchisor worth their salt is going to take a close look at you as a franchise candidate and make sure that you are going to fit their model and fit their system, because the worst thing that can happen to a franchisor is to have a failure.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Shelly had a previous career. She was an accountant, CPA, in the airline industry, among others. And it was due to a personal situation that really touched her heart in a big way that she ended up launching BrightStar Care. So I would like to, as a founder, for you to talk about the why, because there are a lot of whys out there on why people start brands. And there are so many stories, it's based on need, but there are quite a bit of stories that come from the heart as well. And then I'd like Shelly to talk about the challenges of growing a franchisor organization from scratch. Okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us. It's a great honor to be here and be around so many amazing women. I heard some really great, inspiring stories during the kind of cocktail hour. So my journey, I am a CPA by background, an undergraduate and graduate degree in accounting. So I guess that makes me a double nerd. I love numbers. But I didn't stay in that career in a traditional sense for very long. I really enjoyed leadership and managing large teams. So I've been in the healthcare industry with Blue Cross Blue Shield, with CNA Insurance, and then right before I started BrightStar was with a fractional jet ownership company owned by United Airlines. I've had up to 300 people reporting to me, and was the youngest vice president ever at CNA Insurance in a very male-dominated industry. So that was not only the youngest, but a female. Kind of rocked everybody when they saw that announcement come out. But have found that for me, the entrepreneurial journey wasn't that I was trying to get away from corporate America. I actually thrived in corporate America, but I had a passion. So in late 2001, my fiance at the time, grandmother became very ill. And the family, because I'm detail-oriented, being an accountant, kind of looked to me to interview all the companies that would provide her with care so she could remain at home, not have to go into a nursing home for her last few months with us. I was shocked to find out, really, no matter how much I was willing to spend, that we could only find Walmart-level quality and service. We couldn't find Nordstrom's or Neiman Marcus, and we were looking for that for ourselves. I can choose what clothing stores I shop at. I can choose what seat on an airline. I can choose what restaurant that I want to eat at. But with healthcare, I couldn't pay more and have a better experience. It just didn't exist. So Grandma Pat passed away the day before my husband and I got married in 2002. So it was a pretty emotional time in our lives. And I started thinking over the next few months, could we do something about this? Were there other consumers like us that were looking for a better, higher quality experience? And I think that's some of what I heard here. Everybody identified kind of a market opportunity, but there's also passion behind it that kind of formed that personal journey, and that's what that was for me. So 6 months after losing Grandma Pat, started BrightStar Care. I've always been the CEO, always been kind of leading the organization from the beginning. My husband's a salesperson, so he was doing outside sales for about the first 18 months, retired for a while, would come back as I needed him to take on sales projects, and he's now formally been retired from the company for the last 4 years. So seeing that market opportunity in 2002, grew the company to be about $3 or $4 million in revenue, 2 or 3 locations in the Chicagoland market, and had a kind of divine opportunity to invest as a franchisee, sign that franchise disclosure document, and become an investor in hotels. Went to new manager and new owner training with Choice Hotels, and sat in the training class and said, I totally could franchise our business model. I was pregnant with twins at the time, came back from the training classes. This becomes relevant. Came back from the training classes, went on bed rest. What does a type A workaholic do when they're on bed rest? I wrote the operations manuals to franchise our business. So in early 2005, we'd been in business for 2.5 years. We started laying the groundwork to franchise our business. from bed rest on January 21st, 2005. I formed our legal entity for franchising, and the boys were born 1 week later. I got discharged I delivered on a Friday, discharged on a Sunday, back at work full time on a Monday. And 6 months later, we started franchising. Had the honor to meet this woman very shortly thereafter. Franchising for me was an amazing journey to take a great business model with a great brand and a lot of passion behind it, but be able to offer those same services to families all over the country and get scale, use the leverage of franchising and help other people who were passionate about making a difference in their communities with home care to be able to do that through my brand, my systems, my technology. Now, 10 years after starting franchising, we've got 315 locations in the U.S. and just signed agreements for Canada and the UAE and Saudi Arabia. So we're beginning to go international, $350 million in system-wide sales, and I still own 100% of the stock of the company. So... That's a little girl power.
Is that an awesome story? And just, it's been fun watching her all the way. Undercover Boss does do a lot of replays, and you can catch both of these ladies, and they're great. You should see.
And it's on Netflix.
You should see how crazy they look. Have any of you ever seen they look crazy. And I had to leave the room when I saw Shelly dressed in the, yeah. So I think we're at a point, Lisa, where we can open the audience to questions.
Pretty relevant to Undercover Boss, actually. My question is, how do you control culture?
I talked a little bit about making sure someone's a good fit as a franchisee. A big part of that is the culture. Now, I will tell you that I joined FASTSIGNS International on January 1st, 2009, and one of the things I did was modify the culture, a much more growth-oriented culture, but really focused on what I believe are the 5 common characteristics of all highly successful people. And so I teach those characteristics to my corporate team, and I teach those characteristics to my franchisees. And what I like about these characteristics is they're all learned behaviors. And so that would be positive mental attitude, goal-directed behavior, self-motivation, a sense of urgency, and never stopping learning. And all of those are learned skills. And so as we have, in my office, we have a thing called Inspiration Hall. It's a big, long hallway, and it's filled with over 100 quotes that reflect on those 5 or any of those 5 characteristics. Now, if you go into a FASTSIGNS location and you go to the production area, you're going to see quotes up on the wall. And so that's the thing about the culture you created at the corporate level. Shelly's going to tell you the same thing. You pick great franchisees, you inspire and motivate them, you continue to inculcate that culture, reinforce, and it trickles down.
Yeah, so I'll add to that. I think I would agree with a lot of what Catherine had to say. I think it has to be very intentional to form culture. And so I think it's about the selection of the franchisees. I think equally it's about the selection of those at my corporate team that really believe, like I do, that the franchisees are oftentimes investing their life savings in building a business. And it's our responsibility, it's our accountability to help them be successful. If they're motivated and they're willing to follow our system, there shouldn't be a reason for someone to fail. That's about selection, that's about support. But it's also about caring and compassion, and we're in it together. For us, we use the same core values to select franchisees as we do to select every member of our team, and they have to be the same core values. We utilize the same core values to select the caregivers that are taking care of grandmas and grandpas on the front line. So we're using a very consistent core value approach all the way through every touch point of our brand. I think that's really important. I think it's also important, even though I'm busy and I travel 80% of the time, I am back every month and I do 4 hours of leadership training with every franchisee that joins my brand. I do a road show every year and I go out and work with my franchisees side by side to help them with strategic planning, to help them always be taking their business to the next level, help them be thinking about leadership and how to ensure they have strong culture and are continuing to invest in that. So I think it's a brilliant question, but I think you have to be intentional about it. And so for me, I could have made a choice back in 2005, 2006. I had many people wanting to invest in my business, a lot of private equity wanting to make that investment. And what made me choose franchising versus private equity at that stage is I wouldn't preclude taking private equity at some point in time in the future, but I wanted to make sure my culture was seated and I had enough franchisees that were part of the family that if I had 500 locations across the country and all of the core values were consistent across our caregivers, our nurses, our office staff of our franchisees and our corporate team all together, then private equity money trying to change what our priorities aren't going to change my culture. So franchising for me was a way to keep a very tight rein on our culture and be very, very intentional about it.
I've got one answer for you on that too. I see it from the other side. So from the franchisee's perspective, and normally when I'm involved, there's a problem. People don't call me just to say.
That's why I don't know Joyce professionally.
really happy with everything. Just wanted to say hello. So I've seen, the relationship breakdown. So here's to me a key point for culture. When the franchisor structures a business model where they're making money when the franchisees are making sales, then there's happiness. If the franchisor is making money and the franchisees, note that I did not say the franchisee is making money. I didn't say making profit, because that's something the franchisors can't deal with. But on the sales part, but if the franchisor is taking money away from the franchisees and they're not making the sales, or their expense line is becoming so big because the franchisor is requiring the franchisee to buy from certain sources or do things that are just not supporting the business, it doesn't matter what culture you have. It's all going to go down the tube. And we've seen it one after the other. Quiznos, Schlotsky's, and there's a really big one right now that I can't even tell you about.
Oh, come on, Joyce.
No, I can't, because, they've got me. But the point is, you can see them. You can see those red flags. So that's kind of the parity that I think is important when you're looking at a relationship.
Great comments.
Okay, Patrick, a couple more questions here.
Yeah, we're expanding nationally, and I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about the business model. And we're looking at a franchise model or an affiliate model and trying to figure out the proper rev share. It's challenging. So I just wonder if you have any insights about that.
So it's a great question, and probably one we wouldn't have adequate time to address, but I mentor probably at any given time, probably 25 entrepreneurs. Probably 70% of those are women, 30% are men. And for me, I think there was a brilliant business that was an on-demand hair, nails, makeup business that I was talking to the young lady, and it really seemed like a business that could be franchised. So I actually wrote a book called Grow Smart, Risk Less. It's on Amazon.com. And the premise of that book, and it all goes to charity, but the premise of the book was, how do you know whether you should franchise your business model? And it's a very brutal test, because I'd rather you not spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to franchise business model if it doesn't make sense to franchise it. But then if you decide to franchise a business model, what are the steps that you would want to take? And every single mistake that I made in the first 7 years, talk about a humbling experience, I put in the book with a little call-out box to hopefully avoid those mistakes for others that come after me. But it really goes through a lot of the how much money will you need, what's the right path, how do you evaluate that, what are the advisors that you need around you. So hopefully that would be helpful, while not being able to give you all of that in a couple of minutes here, or in Joyce's 30 seconds. Hopefully the book will be helpful, and I'm happy to give you a card as well if you have some questions as you're going through that journey.
Hi. Okay, because we are in the Bay Area, very technology focused, can you speak about how technology plays in each of the franchises, how you use it for efficiency, how you make sure it's standard, or do you let people do whatever they want, and also how new technologies play?
And can you franchise technology companies?
Absolutely, and there are many technology companies that are franchised. So just thinking about the signage and visual graphic space, we have all of our franchisees on the same point of sale system. It's cloud-based. We get data every night so we know what's happening within their businesses, right? So we're looking at all the ways we can to leverage that. We have different tools and apps on their phones that make it easier when they go to a site to do a site survey, to from a distance measure the building and then be able to put up a mock-up of the signage. So we're always looking at technology to help make their entire process more efficient. In the sign making business, there is still a handmade portion of actually making a lot of the signs. We're always looking at how can we improve that from a technology standpoint. And we continue to see advancements in that vendors are coming out. But by tying the data together, having a portal where we're getting all of our franchisees' financial statements in so that then they can compare their actual financial performance against the rest of the network and really do some benchmarking and KPIs is very, very powerful.
Yeah, so I think investments in technology was one of the major reasons we were able to scale and grow so quickly. We still perform about 3 times the average volume of our competitors in the first kind of 7 or 8 years of a franchisee's life cycle compared to our competitors. We invested in technology back in 2004 before we ever franchised. So we have our own proprietary technology platform that all of our franchisees use. They're required to use it. It's everything from payroll, billing, quality of care, oversight, and we've made really large investments the last few years with business intelligence, because in the healthcare field, it's all about outcomes and how can we prove to insurance companies that they should spend a little bit more to use a value-based provider, because we're improving the quality of care and bending the cost curve. So data is really important. And if we hadn't had that vision back in 2004, I mean, so far, 2004 to now, we've probably made $7 or $8 million of investments in technology. We charge a separate technology fee to our franchisees to use it. It's less expensive than what they could get in off-the-shelf software for, but it's also creating a capability for us to consider licensing our software in maybe a lower tier version. So give my franchisees all of the bells and whistles. Let's call that a platinum level. Could there be gold and silver levels that we could license to the industry to make the industry better and increase the amount of data that we could have and actually become a data kind of expert and publish studies over the next 5 years?
Excellent. Okay. I know you guys have 1,000 more questions, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you come down and ask questions. So you guys are going to get bombarded here for a few minutes because I know some have to leave and I want to make sure that we don't hold everybody. But thank you. Was that an amazing panel? Really, I mean, outstanding, just brilliant. And thank you so much for the insights, for the wisdom. And if you have more questions, feel free to come down now. We're going to do that, and the bar will be open, and there'll be more food if you want to hang out a little bit longer, but I understand if you have to go, you can do that as well. Thank you for coming tonight. Have a good one.
Thank you.